If you are an Indian and thinking about moving abroad in 2026, don't make this decision emotionally. That's what countless people do. In this video, I'll break it down practically on money, visa, loneliness, and other issues, and who should move abroad and who should wait this time. No consultancy style promises, just the reality. Quick context on me: I've been living in Europe for about 10 years now. I have done my studies here and I have worked professionally for about 6 of those years. I've also worked in Japan and Singapore. So this doesn't come from theory, it comes from my personal experience. I have seen countless people make this move, some successfully, some painfully. So I'm going to divide this into four parts. The first is financial stability, whether you can survive without a part time job. The second is emotional resilience, whether you can handle loneliness, occasional racism, and segregation. The third is lifestyle fit, whether the country's lifestyle is actually fit for you. The fourth is exit plan. What if something doesn't work out? What if your job or studies do not work out? Do you have an exit plan? If you cannot answer four of these clearly, then the move may not be right for you. Let's dive into pros and cons. The first pro is better infrastructure and cleanliness. Of course, living abroad, you find most of the surroundings quite clean, and the infrastructure, including the the bridges, streets, and public transport, is quite good, especially in Europe and East Asia. So this reduces the mental anxiety and stress, and which is a big plus. The second is career exposure and growth. So when you work abroad, especially, you're going to be exposed to cutting edge technology and the best ways to manage and business and be efficient. So that kind of enhances your horizons and makes you a bit, like, exposed to global growth as well. So that's another big plus. The third thing is independence and personal growth. So living abroad, you do not really have the community to rely on, and that kind of forces you to be independent in solving issues, and it also makes you more individualistic, so you start prioritizing personal growth. The fourth is better work life structure. In parts of Europe, work life boundaries are respected more. Labor laws are stronger, but this is not universal. In East Asia, especially, the grind culture is still there, like in India. So even if legally the employer cannot really contact you after working hours, they often do. So that's a pro for Europe, I would say, but not really for like East Asia. Or I heard like some horror stories from the US as well. So there are four pros for living abroad. The first is better life quality. The second is career exposure. The third is independence. And the fourth is better work life balance. Whether these pros matter to you or not, that's a decision that you have to make. But now we're going to move to four major cons of living abroad, and they're quite big ones. So the first major con is loneliness, and it's a big one. So many expats, they come home after work and they go to cooking, watching Netflix shows, and all alone, and they do that on repeat. For Indians who often come from socially dense backgrounds, this can hit hard. Even after living like abroad like for 10 years, I'm still not used to it, and I have to often go to India to get the reset. So you have to remember this one. The second is cultural distance and occasional racism. Unfortunately, so in many places you may feel visible, but you still will be an outsider. Some people are welcoming, some are not. And recently, anti immigrant sentiment and online hate have increased in multiple countries, and not just in like Europe. I have seen that in Australia as well. And the third is part time job myth. Many students come abroad thinking that they will be getting a part time job right off the bat, and the part time job will fund most of their living expenses. Reality is often opposite, especially in Europe, where getting a part-time job is super difficult. Like even in big countries in Germany or UK, it's still quite difficult to get a part-time job, especially as a student where you do not really have a lot of skills to offer. And I have seen many students, they come with that hope and they lot of student loans, and then they cannot really, like, fulfill their living expenses. That's why you have seen, like, huge queues in Ireland where Indian students were queuing up for like a food bank. So don't be that person, right? Remember that part-time job will not fund all of your living expenses if you get one. Some people, what they do is they become like courier drivers, so like food delivery drivers, but that also is a uh, very stressful work, and it doesn't really give you a lot of money, especially to cover your living expenses. The fourth is assimilation is no longer optional. Many countries are tightening integration experiences, language, cultural adaptation, local norms are only getting worse. So if you refuse to integrate and stay in your isolated bubbles and celebrate Indian festivals and not really go out as much, long-term outcomes will worsen for you socially and sometimes even legally. So remember this one. The fifth is visa and job security. Your legal stay is tied to your visa status, studies, and job. Lose your job, your timeline can collapse fast. PR is possible, but it's often slower and harder than consultants advise. Queues, language rules, and policy changes are like a regular story here. So visa is like one, I would say, like one sword that is always on your neck. So who should move abroad in 2026? First, you need to have solid skills that companies want. Second, if you have a good job offer where you cannot really work from India, because if you can work from India, that would be most cost effective. Third, you need to have financial backup of at least 12 months, especially if you do not get a job, then you need to have this backup ready for you. The fourth is you need to have an exit plan if you do not really get a visa or if you have other issues. So who should not move in 2026? If you are a student and you are pursuing a degree where aren't many job opportunities and you're just hoping that you're going to get something, do not move. If you do not have financial backup for at least 12 months, do not move. If you do not have clear path to like a job or after graduation strategy, do not move. If you do not really have an exit plan, if things do not work out, also do not move. I know those are very big guardrails, but you have to, if you do follow them, you'll be much better than students who are like coming here without any plans whatsoever. So I'm just sharing it from my personal experience and what I have witnessed it myself. So if I give you like a checklist to remember before moving abroad, pick two target countries, build a resilient budget model like tuition, living expenses, and emergency. Talk to five Indians who are already there, so you can find them on LinkedIn and talk to them about like living conditions there and about your uh, prospective career path as well. That will give you a lot of insights for that particular country. Check the job demand on LinkedIn. You can like search your role and see whether there are like plenty of jobs for that particular role in that country. Don't really decide from reels, like decide from data. You need to have like clear cut plan before you uproot your life and move abroad. So that has been it, my guide on how to move abroad in 2026 for Indians. If you want, you can comment your profile, your target country, your budget, and your pursue, and I will do my best to give you uh, sound advice based on my experience whether to move abroad or not. And if you have already moved abroad, you can write your advice for other viewers to learn from. And that has been it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.